Good morning, students. Am I audible? Am I audible, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is my screen visible?
No, sir.
Yes. What about now?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So good morning. Welcome everyone for the one more class on analysis of design of advanced design of steel structures. So in the previous class, I actually started with this numerical example on finding the elastic critical moment, that is the for the lateral torsional buckling. They given a section to you, so you have to note down all the properties and you have to calculate few of the parameters, and this is the main equation wherein we will be calculating the elastic critical moment. Okay, so and once we find out that, we have to find some parameters, and based on that I can find out the design moment capacity of that section, that is ISMB 400, which was for a unsupported length of 3 meters. Okay, this procedure is valid only if the beam is laterally unrestrained. If the beam is laterally restrained, the procedure is little bit different. I mean to say, we will not come into picture the elastic critical moment. Directly we have to calculate the design moment capacity. Okay, so we started with this simple type of problem where the section will be given to you and the length of the beam will be given. So you have to calculate the design moment capacity of that beam. Now we'll see one more numerical example that is called a design type of example, wherein the thing goes like this. So the problem statement is design a laterally unrestrained beam to carry a uniformly distributed load of 50 kilonewton per meter. Okay, the beam is unsupported for a length of 1.5 meters and is simply supported on longitudinal beam at its ends. Now the thing is, there is a beam. This is the main beam, which is carrying a total uniformly distributed load of 50 kilonewton per meter. We'll assume that it is a unfactored load, that is a service load, right? And this beam is having a total unsupported length of 1.5 meters, and it is resting on the longitudinal beams. So I mean to say, there could be beams something like this. There could be longitudinal beams something like this. Okay, so on these beams, this beam is resting, right? And it is laterally unrestrained. So let us proceed further and see. I mean to say, what we have to do here is we have to actually decide a suitable section for this beam. That is, either it could be ISMB 400, 600 or whatever. Okay, we have to decide a suitable section for this beam. So we know that this UDL is unfactored. So we have to calculate the factored UDL. To factor that, you have to multiply it by 1.5. So you will get the total load of, just a minute. Okay, so you will get a total load of 1.5 multiplied by 50. It comes out to be 75 kilonewton per meter. Okay, the total factored UDL is 75 kilonewton per meter. And since it is a simply supported beam, we have to calculate the maximum bending moment and the maximum shear force. A UDL carrying uniformly distributed load throughout, maximum bending moment formula is WL square by 8, and the maximum shear force occurs at the supports. Maximum shear force occurs at the supports and the maximum bending moment occurs at the midspan. So the maximum bending moment comes out to be, that is WL square by 8. It comes out to be 21.09 kilonewton meter. That is, I have to multiply 75 multiplied by 1.5 square divided by 8. So it comes out to be 21.09 kilonewton meter, and it is 75 multiplied by 1.5, that is WL over 2. So this comes out to be 56.25 kilonewtons. Okay, so these are my maximum bending moments. This is my maximum bending moment and this is my maximum shear force. So now I have to design a section which will carry a bending moment of more than 21.09 and which is able to carry a shear force of 56.25 kilonewtons. Okay, now to start with, we don't know what kind of section we have to choose. To start with, we have to go for a initial assumption. Okay, we have to go for an initial assumption. So to do a initial section, what we do here is we go for a term called lambda, which is actually called as a slenderness ratio, right? And we go for one more term called the total depth of the beam to the thickness of the flange as 25. So we assume a slenderness ratio of 100 and the h over thickness of flange equal to 25. These are only just initial assumption. For any design related numerical example, you can start with this basic assumption of lambda equal to 100 and h by tf equal to 25. So and later on we'll come to know whether by doing this kind of assumption, whether we are on a safer side or we may have to revise a section. Right. Once you choose this, you have to refer a table called table 14 of IS 800 2007. You have to refer a table 14 of IS 800 2007. Okay, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you have to refer table 14 of IS 800 2007, wherein that table will actually give you the value for the critical stress FCR comma B. The critical stress FCR comma B. Now where that will be used, I will tell you in the next part. So this is my table 14 of IS 800 2007. KL by R is nothing but lambda, that is slenderness ratio. So we assumed lambda equal to 100 and H by TF we have assumed 25. So H by TF we have assumed 25 and KL by R, that is lambda, we have assumed 100. So for these two, I will come to know that the FCRB is 291.4 Newton per mm square. So that only I have noted down here. That is critical stress is 291.4 Newton per mm square. Now, based on this, I can easily calculate. There is a formula. There is a relationship between lambda LT, what we used to calculate earlier, between lambda LT and FCRB. This is the relation which you can find in IS 800 2007. So lambda LT is equal to under the root Fy, that is the yield stress of the material, divided by FCRB. So I can use that. So the yield stress of the material is 250. Okay. And FCRB, I just noted down, it is 291.4. So based on this, I can calculate that and it is coming out to be 0.926. Okay, it is coming out to be 0.926. Now, once we calculate lambda LT, we can easily calculate phi LT, which is given by this equation, and where alpha LT is equal to 0.21, because I have told you for all the rolled sections, alpha LT value will be always equal to 0.21. So I can calculate phi LT. So which is coming out to be 0.5 plus into the bracket 1 plus alpha LT, that is 0.21 into the bracket lambda LT, we already calculated it as 0.926 minus 0.2 plus lambda LT square, that is 0.926 square. So this gives me the value of phi LT as 1.005. Okay. So once I know phi LT, I can easily calculate xi LT, which is 1 divided by phi LT plus this formula. So let me just substitute that. Plus 1.005 square minus lambda LT, which is 0.926 square. and this whole thing raised to 0.5. So from this, I can easily get the value of xi LT, which is coming out to be 0.716. And as per the code, it should be less than or equal to 1.0. Okay, so and we have achieved that. So once I know xi LT, I can easily calculate FBD, which is equal to xi LT multiplied by yield strength of the material divided by gamma m naught, that is a partial safety factor. So let me just calculate that 0.716, that is xi LT multiplied by 250 divided by the partial safety factor, that what we are going to use is 1.1. So this gives me the value of FBD equal to 162.7 Newton per mm square. So this is the bending compressive stress of the material. Now I also know a formula between the design bending capacity and the FBD, which is equal to MD is equal to beta B ZP into FBD, where MD is actually the design moment capacity. How much moment we want our beam to carry maximum bending moment, which is 21.09. So that I'm going to substitute as MD itself. Beta B will be always equal to 1 because our section will be a plastic section. We'll assume that our section will be a plastic section, and ZP is the one which is required, that is plastic section modulus which is required, and FBD we have just calculated, that is 162.7. Okay, once I substitute all the known values, I will get the ZP required. So ZP required will be equal to, let me just do that. So MD is 21.09 and it is in kilonewton meter. So let me convert that into Newton meter. So multiplied by 10 raised to 6 divided by ZP is 1 multiplied by FB is 162.7. So from this, I can get the plastic section modulus required, which will be equal to 129.6 into 10 raised to 3. Okay, so what is the importance of that? Now I have to see a section whose plastic section modulus is more than this, just more than this, 129.6 into 10 raised to 3 mm cube. I have to choose a section from the steel table or SP6 whose plastic section modulus is more than this one. Is it clear, students? Is this procedure clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So once I do that, I came to know that after seeing all the sections, I came to know that a beam called ISMB 175 at the rate of 0.19 kilonewton per meter. So this value actually indicates the weight of this beam per meter length. That is 0.15 kilonewton is the weight of the beam per meter length. So I came to know that an section ISMB 175 has a plastic section modulus more than this required, that is 129.6 into 10 raised to 3. You can just see here. Plastic section modulus of this is 161.65 into 10 raised to 3 mm cube, which is more than 129.6 into 10 raised to 3 mm cube. It is not compulsory that you have to choose this section itself. You can go for any other section whose plastic section modulus is more than this. ISMB 200 or ISMB 225. Maybe you may get a section in ISLB itself, that is Indian Standard Light Beam. This is the Indian Standard Medium Weight Beam. You can get a section where the plastic section modulus of that section is more than this. So it is not hard and fast rule that you have to go for this section itself. It depends on you. That's why design problems always are not having a unique solutions. Somebody will choose ISMB 200, somebody will choose ISMB 225 to be on a much safer side, but you have to arrive at an economical section. But in this case, I have chosen section ISMB 175, and these are the properties of that beam. That is the depth, total depth, width of flange, thickness of flange, depth of web, that is D equal to 175 minus 2 times the thickness of flange, thickness of web, moment of inertia about major and minor axis, elastic section modulus, and the plastic section modulus. So next, you have to note down all these things. Then you have to classify your section. So let us do that. And we know that epsilon equal to under the root 250 divided by Fy, where it is will be always equal to 1. Then I have to go for B by TF. Let me do that. So B is actually, I told you it is not the width of flange 90. Okay, it is the outstanding width of that compression flange, which is 90 divided by 2, which is 90 divided by 2 divided by the thickness of flange is 8.6. This comes out to be 5.23. Then D by TW, where D is the depth of web, which is 157.8. Divided by the thickness of web, which is 5.5. So this comes out to be almost around 25.05. And I can see that this is less than 9.4. And this is also less than 84. That is epsilon, I mean to say 9.4 epsilon and 84 epsilon. So this tells me that my chosen section is a plastic section. The section what I have chosen, that is ISMB 175, based on section classification, I came to know that the section is a plastic section. Next, you have to calculate the elastic critical moment, MCR, which is given by this formula. So let us calculate the terms inside this square root. So G equal to E divided by 2 into 1 plus mu, where E is the Young's modulus, which is 2 into 10 is to 5 Newton per square divided by 2 into 1 plus mu, where mu is the Poisson's ratio, which is equal to 0.3, which is coming out to be 76.923 into 10 is to 3 Newton per mm square. Okay, then I have to calculate the torsional constant, that is BITI cube divided by 3. And I told you how you have to calculate. Let us draw that I section here. Okay, am I audible, students?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Let me draw that I section. Okay, so what is the flange width? It is 90. That is, I mean to say this width is 90. And the center to center distance is actually 175 is the total depth minus the thickness of flange, which is 8.6. This width of web is 5.5 and the thickness of flange is 8.6. Okay, so just let me write that. First, let us do it for the two flanges. So that's why 2 into The bigger dimension will be B and the smaller dimension will be T. So it will be 92 times 90 into thickness of flange is 8.6 cube divided by 3 plus that of web. The web larger dimension is 175 minus 8.6. So I should go for 175 minus 8.6. This will be B multiplied by T will be the thickness of web, which will be 5.5 cube divided by 3. That is B T cube divided by 3. So this comes out to be, that is the torsional constant comes out to be 47.39 into 10 raised to 3. Mm raised to 4. Right? So this is the torsional constant. Then I can easily calculate the warping constant, that is IW, where this is given by 1 minus beta f times beta f into it should be Iy. This should be Iy times hf square, which is given by 1 minus, and I told you beta f will be always 0.5 because for the equal flange width sections, beta f will be always 0.5. 1 minus 0.5 times 0.5 times the moment of inertia about the y axis, which is which is about 85 into 10 raised to 4. Okay, and HF will be nothing but 166.4 square. Right, that is which HF will be 175 minus 8.6. Right, so this will give me the warping constant. So this comes out to be 5.89 into 10 raised to 9. Mm raised to 6. Okay, this is the warping constant. So now I know all the parameters inside this square root. I can substitute all of them and I can get the value of MCR. So let us do that. So first term is pi square. I will write E as it is, pi square E into Iy, which is 85 into 10 raised to 4. Pi square E Iy divided by LLT square, which is the effective length, which is 1500 square. Okay, plus inside the bracket GIT, that is the shear modulus multiplied by the torsional constant. Shear modulus is 76.923 into 10 raised to 3 multiplied by the torsional constant, which we have calculated, which is 47.39 into 10 raised to 3. Plus pi square E into IW, which is warping constant, that is 5.89 into 10 raised to 9. Divided by LLT square, that is the effective length square, which is 1,500. This whole thing under the square root. So from this, I will get the elastic critical moment to be 81.11 kilonewton meter. Is it clear, students? Any doubts till now? Any doubts you have? Am I audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, any doubts you have?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yeah, okay, right. So we'll proceed further. Next, I want to calculate the design bending moment capacity, that is the MD. To calculate that, I need to first calculate few more factors. See, all these factors I have already calculated here, but all these factors are for the basic assumption of lambda equal to 100 and h by tf equal to 25. They are not for the section which I chosen, which is ISMB 175. For this section chosen, I have to once again calculate all these parameters of lambda LT, phi LT and xi LT. So let us do that. So lambda LT is ZP times Fy, where ZP is the plastic section modulus provided, not the required one. So how much we have provided the plastic section modulus, which is 161.65 into 10 raised to 3. You can see here. The ISMB 175 is having a plastic section modulus of 161.65. So that I have to write down here. 161.65 into 10 raised to 3 is the plastic section modulus provided, multiplied by the yield strength of the material is 250, divided by the elastic critical moment which we have calculated, which is 81.11. It is, I have to convert that into Newton millimeters. So multiplied by 10 raised to 6. So this comes out to be lambda LT comes out to be 0.7. Okay. Then similarly, I have to calculate phi LT, which is 0.5 times all this, and alpha LT will be 0.21. So 1 plus, sorry, 0.5 times. Let me just write once again. So this is coming out to be 0.7 and phi LT is 0.5 times 1 plus alpha LT is 0.21. Lambda LT is 0.7. Just now I calculated minus 0.2 plus lambda LT square, that is 0.7 square. I'm getting phi LT as 0.7975. Okay, then I can calculate xi LT, which is given by this formula. So 1 divided by phi LT is 0.7975 plus 0.7975 square minus lambda LT square. Lambda LT is 0.7 square. And this whole thing raised to 0.5. So from this, I will get xi LT as 0.848, which is once again less than or equal to 1, right? So it is okay. Then I can calculate the elastic bending stress, which is xi LT times Fy divided by gamma m naught. Xi LT is 0.848 multiplied by Fy, that is the yield strength, which is 250, divided by gamma m naught is 1.1. So from this, I will get the value of FBD as 192.67. That is the elastic bending compressive stress. And from this, I can find the value of design moment capacity, which is equal to beta B, which is 1. Okay. Beta B, which is equal to 1 multiplied by ZP, which is the provided 161.65 into 10 raised to 3 multiplied by FBD, which is 192.67. Okay, so from this, I can get the value of design moment capacity, which is equal to 31.14 kilonewton meter. Then you have to check this with the maximum bending moment which was coming on the beam. So how much was the maximum bending moment which was coming on the beam? the maximum bending moment which was coming on the beam was 21.09. But how much bending moment capacity we have got? We got 31.014 kilonewton meter, which is much more than 21.09 kilonewton meter. So hence it is okay. You can just check here. You have to compare this with the maximum bending moment. If it is greater than maximum bending moment, it is okay. And if it is less than maximum bending moment, then you have to once again revise the section. Okay. So are you clear, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any doubts? Any doubts till now? Any doubts till now?
No, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So once you are confident that the section chosen is able to carry the maximum bending moment of 21.09 because its design moment capacity is 31.14 kilonewton meter, which is more than the maximum bending moment, then you can say that your section is safe from bending point of view. But you have to also check from the shear point of view. That's what you used to do in RCC structures, right? So you used to design your main reinforcement for the bending moment, and you used to design your stirrups for the shear reinforcement, right? So then you used to check whether the shear reinforcement is provided, carries the total amount of shear, and the tension or the bending reinforcement provided is able to carry the bending moment which is coming on the beam. Same thing goes with the steel structures also. Your section chosen is safe from bending, taking bending point of view, but whether it is safe from taking shear point of view, that also you have to check. So let us check for the shear capacity of the section. Okay, now what happens here? So you have to calculate something called design shear capacity of the section. Means how you calculated MD, which was okay. So there are some network issues, I think. I don't know. Frequently it is disconnecting. Okay, let it be. Right. So how you calculated MD, that is the design moment capacity of the section. In the same manner, you have to calculate VD, that is the design shear capacity of that section, which is given by this formula, which is Fy divided by root 3 gamma m naught, where Fy is the yield strength and gamma m naught is 1.1 and root 3 is as it is, multiplied by H times TW, where H is actually the total depth of the section. So we have given ISMB 175, so H will be 175. To see the formula, you can refer IS 800 2007. Okay, right. So you can refer IS 800 2007 clause 8.4.1. You can refer that and you will get this formula, which is VD. So let us calculate that. So Fy is 250 divided by root 3 into gamma m naught is 1.1. And I told you H is 175. That is the total depth of the section. Okay, multiplied by the thickness of the web. So the thickness of the web is 5.5. So this I'm getting 126.3 kilonewtons. 126.3 kilonewtons, and it means that the total shear capacity of ISMB 175, what we have chosen, is 126.3, which is much more than the actual shear force which is coming on the beam. So the actual shear force which is coming on the beam is 56.25. Okay, you can just see here. It is 56.25 is the actual shear force which is coming on the beam. So I can just write this here, 56.25 kilonewtons. Hence, it is okay from shear point of view also. These are the limit state of strength we calculated. That is for the bending and for the shear. Yes, also there is one more check called check for high shear. So check for high shear is actually given by 0.6 times VD. VD is what design shear capacity which you have calculated. So 0.6 times VD is 0.6 times 56.25, which is coming out to be 75.78 kilonewtons, which is more than the actual shear coming on the beam. That is 56.25 kilonewtons. I will explain you what is the meaning of this. What you have to do is check for high shear. Whatever design shear capacity which you have calculated, that is 126.3. Sorry, this should be 126.3. Okay. So whatever design shear capacity you have calculated, which is 126.3, you have to calculate 60% of that. That is 0.6 times VD. So 60% of 126.3 is 75.78. And this should be more than the actual shear force which is coming on the beam, that is 56.25. Now what happens if it is less than 56.25? Then you have to calculate your revised design moment capacity using one more formula, which is actually given in IS 800-2007 in clause 9.2. You can go to clause 9.2 and you can check what happens if it is less than, that is 0.6 times VD is less than the actual shear force which is coming on the beam. You can go and check it, right? So, but here in this case it is more, so hence it is okay, right? So now we have actually calculated the limit state of strength, that is design bending moment capacity, design shear force capacity. We also have to check whether the given section, that is ISMB 175, is okay from limit state of serviceability, wherein it takes care of deflection. So I have to check for the deflection also. Let us go and check for the deflection. So this is your simply supported beam of span 1.5 meters, that is 1500 mm, and it is carrying a UDL of 50 kilonewton per meter. And you already know that when you actually check for the deflection, you should not take the factored load. Instead, you should take only the service load. Okay, that you should keep in mind. While checking for deflection, you should not take factored load. Instead, you should take only the service load. So the service load which was given was 50 kilonewton per meter. And we know that the maximum deflection for a simply supported beam carrying UDL throughout is given by 5W L raised to 4 by 384 EI, where W is the load, L is the span, E is the Young's modulus, and I is the moment of inertia about major axis. So I can just calculate that delta max 5W L raised to 4 by 384 EI. So which is coming out to be, let me just calculate that, 5 times 50. Actually, I should convert 50 kilonewton per meter to Newton millimeters. So if you convert that, it comes 50 itself, because 50 into 1000 divided by 1000. So 1000 will go. So 50 will remain as it is, multiplied by 1500 raised to 4, that is L raised to 4 divided by 384. E I will write as it is, that is 2 into 10 raised to 5 multiplied by IZZ, that is the moment of inertia of the section about major axis, which is 1270.6 into 10 raised to 4. Okay, into 10 raised to 4, which we know from the steel section, steel tables. So from this, I'm getting maximum deflection, which is coming on this beam as 1.3 millimeters. Okay, 1.3 millimeters is the maximum deflection coming on the beam because of the uniformly distributed load. But there is an allowable deflection which is given by L by 300, where L is the span. So from where you'll get this L by 300 is, you have to refer table 6 of IS 800-2007. You have to refer table 6. So in that you can see live load, simple span. I will consider it as a brittle cladding. span divided by 300 is the maximum deflection allowable. That is span divided by 300. You can even go for span divided by 240, but either you can go to span divided by 240 or span divided by 300 because you're doing it for the simple span. For purlins and girts, it will be different. For cantilever span, it will be different. For rafter supporting, it will be different. Gantry, crane, everything, it will be different. But here in this case, either you can consider span divided by 240 or span divided by 300. So I'm going for span divided by 300. So which is L divided by 300, which is 1500 which is coming out to be so it is coming out 1.3 millimeters. Okay, not 1.3, pardon. Allowable is 5 millimeters. So the allowable deflection is actually 5 millimeters, means up to 5 millimeters your deflection can carry, but the maximum deflection which is coming on the beam is 1.3. So since your delta max is that is delta allowable is more than delta max, so you can say your beam is safe. If your delta allowable, that is allowable deflection, is less than the maximum deflection, then it is unsafe. Then you have to go for the revision of the section. But in our case, it is safe because the delta allowable is more than the delta maximum. That is allowable deflection is more than the actual deflection. So it is safe. So this is how you can do the design of laterally unsupported beams. So you have any clarifications or doubts, students? Anything you want to ask?
No,
Any
sir.
doubts? Right. So this also numerical example I have taken from the N. Subramaniam textbook only. So you can just refer and study in detail. I'll just put the PDF of this after this class. Any doubts are there?
No, sir.
No? Anybody
No.
else? Okay, so I will just unshare my screen.